Hi, this is Nikki Keohoho, and I have with me Grace Keohoho Howell. We're both here as founders of the Direct Selling World Alliance, and so happy that you joined us for this free webinar today. If you didn't get your handout, it came with the email that was the reminder for the webinar. So you can go back and look at it. It'll save you some handwriting right now if you can get that in front of you. And also, while people are looking to grab that handout, I also just wanted to share with you, if you didn't get it at the end, then you can just write to membership at dswa.org, and that'll come out to you later, but hopefully you've got it. And then to remind you, before we get started, we're giving away 3 free months of membership in DSWA. It's good until June 15th. You just go to dswa.org/membership. And this is because there's so many people that have been having a hard time during this situation, and we wanted to give our gift to everyone. So if you're already a member, it'll just add on at the end. So thank you, everybody, for being here with us. We're going to get started with coaching in crisis, and I just want to begin with a little thought around that. You know, I don't call it a crisis. I call it a staycation, and I've called it that because I don't want to put a word around something, but this was the word that everybody identifies with right now. But find another way to say crisis, because it has so much to do with how we think, how we feel, how our attitude about things. And we're leading the way for so many other people. So now's the time to get ourselves in check so we can really show up 100% with everyone on our team. And even if you don't know what coaching is yet, you don't even know the meaning of coaching, today we're going to be touching on a few pieces that will make you think and maybe just be more aware of how you're communicating with others. And as Blanca said just a minute ago, is she wants to know and better understand what people are feeling. Well, you're going to learn about heart-centered listening, one of the coaching skills. And with that skill, it will take you to a new level because you will understand the meaning behind the words, because you're listening in a whole different level. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And Grace, you want to take it from here?
Sure. I definitely want to honor all of you that were able to tune in live to this experience. I think that's such a testament to your commitment to coaching in this season and at this time. And it's been interesting. Many of the people that have gone through our coaching curriculum and coaching programs have shared that they've used this skill more now than ever before. So we're excited to give you some tools that you can use immediately and start practicing so your practice becomes permanent. So our focus for today's call and conversation is to learn how to strategically navigate each connection. And that was something that Blanca brought up. She wants to be able to hear people, to be able to listen, especially because people are often communicating or approaching conversations or life in a unique way, or forming what we call new normals. Also, we're going to share 3 useful coaching skills that you can begin to practice right away. And again, remember, my practice makes permanent. And if you can say that to yourself, it's not about being perfect at your coaching. It's about making permanent this skill and how useful it will be in your interactions, whether you're leading an organization, having a casual conversation, or you're actually coaching to develop your team. So navigating the conversation, Nikki, I'm going to have you share a bit about questions and navigating the conversation. So the 3 coaching skills, please give them a brief overview, and then we'll continue.
Absolutely. So let's start with the three coaching skills that we're going to be talking about. Questions, and that is, questions are the answer. This is asking empowering questions of other people. So once you learn how to ask a question that empowers someone else, they think for themselves. How many of you, and you can just type in the little question box there, or the Q&A box, if you just love being the answer queen or king. So when everybody has a question, they call you. Anybody like that? I don't see any comments that people aren't liking that. So it's take your crown off and throw it, because this is the chance for you to learn how to empower people by you asking the questions versus always being the answer person. Second skill is heart-centered listening. And that is really going beyond the meaning of the word, feeling what that person is saying, understanding clearly. You have no doubt. You're watching, you're 100% present, you're listening carefully to beyond the words. And then the third skill, which you're going to learn about, is called agreed action and accountability. And that's when the person agrees to some action that they're willing to take and be accountable for themselves for the action they said they were going to take. These are just 3 of the 5 skills that we teach in our Coach Excellence School. So we have time to touch on those 3 today and to be able to give you some insight into questions that work well when people are in a very challenging situation. Because remember that when people are under stress, they come out very strong with who they are. And the stress shows up in a lot of different ways. So we want to be the ones that can stop, make a difference for people to not have that stress going on in their lives and to simplify their lives. So Grace, you want to take it from here?
Sure, it'd be a pleasure. So let's talk a bit about questions and how we can ask questions in a manner that engages people or lessens the emotional charge, creates a flow in your conversation versus adds to create conflict. So we provided a few descriptions with your questions. And one thing to remember about questions, and great questions, are those empowering questions. And empowering questions, what I love about those is that they're open-ended. They are not necessarily leading to a yes, no, or a maybe. They give the person that you're speaking to an opportunity to empty their mental cup, to share what is going on in their inner world and bringing it to the surface. So one of the strategies that we want to share with you today is to be intentional about starting your conversations personably at this time. Rather than jumping straight into business or straight into let's talk business and let's get to the point quickly, we may not get the same receptivity as we would if we asked for a quick update. Briefly catch me up on you. Or how are you acclimating to the new normals right now? What are some of the things that you appreciate about this time? And what are some of the things that have been most challenging for you? You see, with these questions, what happens is people are saying, oh, I'm not a statistic, or I'm not just a number on the other end of the line for a sale or a prospect. That you care enough about me, that you're reaching out to create this personable connection. And so I encourage you, when you first start asking questions and you first pick up the phone, be personable and watch people on the right side twice. So be at ease. Oh, and we've got somebody that may have an opportunity. There we go. I'm not sure who we have that could mute.
No, I'm just an angry hamster.
Okay, let's see here.
I got everybody, Grace.
You got everybody, Nikki? Okay, thank you. I'm like, we were hearing background noise. So personable, coming out with a question that's more personable. And we gave you a few examples. So in your handout, what has been most challenging? What are some of the gifts under the circumstances? What's on your mind right now? How are you recharging your life battery? How are you taking care of you and those you love? So we gave you some personable question examples that you could begin using. And we encourage you to make the adjustments so that these questions sound like you. Now, so after we transition from personable into professional, I encourage you to really it could be that they're demonstrating that they have a wonderful and positive attitude, or they're communicating in a way that that they're seeing the glass half full versus half empty. And so being able to acknowledge those team members or those people that you're speaking to, or I commend you for your courage, something that's authentic, and then transition into more professional questions. Like, how are you moving forward? What are some of the creative ideas that you have for your business in this season? What are you finding is working? What is not working as well, or what could be adjusted? These questions, what it does is it communicates an interest. And when you're interested, you become very interesting. Also, something to think about as you're having casual conversations with people that you love and care about. Maybe it's not a professional situation or circumstance. There's a few things that I love to teach people when they're picking up the phone to reach out, which, by the way, there are more people taking calls now than ever before. People are hungry for connection, and that's something to be mindful of, that we have some innate needs. And a few of our innate needs are to belong, to connect, and to improve. And we provide and offer that in our profession. We create a sense of belonging and a team culture. We are interested in making connections with our team members. And our profession has been built on professional and personal development. So they are bound to improve from their experience in our business. So with that in mind, though, as we're reaching out to people, how do we approach the conversation now that they have a desire to connect? Well, there's a few tips that I want to share with you, and then you may want to write these down. Then, Nikki, I want to hear your additional thoughts on these questions. Few quick tips. One is when I'm picking up the phone, there are a few things that are running through my mind before I go to call someone. Number one is I want to think about what would be one question that I would like to know the answer to. What would be one question that I could ask this person I'm reaching out to, so I can be mindful and be sure that this is my one question that I want to be sure to ask. The next is what my second thought that I'm pondering is what do I want to be sure that I share? What would I like to be able to offer, or how could I add value to this person or serve this person that I'm reaching out to? So what am I going to ask, and what am I going to share? That is an aspect of my preparation before I make the call. The other thing that happens is when picking up the phone to reach out to someone, to ask for them by first name. So may I speak with Mary? So I see that we have Mary on the line right now tonight. May I speak with Mary? And I'm using her first name. Then I'm saying, this is Grace. And I'm not using my business name, because sometimes what happens is who are you? What is this about? I'm simply saying, this is Grace. And I'm going to share with them the origin of our connection. So I could say something like, we met recently online, or my friend Teresa said that it is so important that I know you and that you know me. They said that we would become fast friends. So I'm sharing the origin of how we've either met or we've been referred. So it sets people at ease. The other thing that's important when picking up the phone and making these connections and asking these questions is to make a statement. I want to ensure that this is a good time. I'm calling to connect for 2 to 3 minutes. So you're saying a few things in this, and people that I've taught this to, they've said, Grace, this has been so helpful. I've been able to make calls with confidence because I have this manner in which to conduct the call so that you're efficient and effective. What you're doing by asking these questions is you're making sure, so I'm calling to connect. Remember that innate need to connect, to belong, and to improve. You're using that term. what you're also doing is you're saying, this isn't going to take all day. Sometimes people, we may have been talking for 30 seconds and they feel like it was 30 minutes. So we're being efficient with our time and building rapport. Also, that approach is duplicatable, especially for those people that are considering our business. And then I'm calling to connect with you for 2 to 3 minutes. Once they approve it and say, yeah, right now is a great time. Let's touch base. I already have my question prepared. So I already know what personable question could I ask them, or what professional question could I ask them. Then I also have, when it's my turn to share, a brief statement. When you come on that 3-minute mark, so 2 to 3 minutes, the brain and the people, they love to have range and options. So 2 to 3 minutes, when you come up on that 3-minute mark, I encourage you to say, I respect your time, and would it be possible, or would you be open to continuing, or shall we set an additional time for later today or tomorrow? So this is a way, again, to ask questions and to create this welcoming environment for your call versus a resisting environment for your call. So those are a few thoughts around questions so far. Nikki, I think you probably want to share with them the who, what, and so forth, the specific.
Me too. And I wanted to throw this in now because I want you to be thinking about this. We're going to be covering listening, the heart-centered listening, in just a few minutes. And when you listen to the words that they're using, because what we've been hearing since, we've been doing this through this whole situation. I'm on staycation in Hawaii, and so's Grace. But we have heard words like fear, uncertain, paralyzed, I'm stuck, all of those things. So when you ask somebody, how are you feeling? You get they'll tell you how they're feeling. But don't put the words in their mouth. Are you stuck? Are you feeling uncertain? There's a big difference between uncertain and stuck. We're in times of uncertainty. So what does that mean to you? Might be a good next question. So most questions begin with who, what, when, where, and how. They begin with those words, so write them down. Who, what, when, where, how. And they're also on your handout, so you can see them there. So it's pretty easy to remember. Those are open-ended questions, and people won't have any trouble being clear on what you're asking. It's when you ask a question that is 19 things put together that they get confused. And by the way, if they say to you, could you repeat that? Don't. Because when you repeat it, it's going to be the same way. And they were confused the first time, they'll be confused the second time. So questions are really important to understand. Seek first to understand, then be understood. And they will know you're listening to them if you follow the thread. Whatever they say, your next question is based on what they've said. So be present, slow down. If you need to burn incense or a candle or whatever you need to get you to be calm and at peace, that's really important because they don't have a lot of peace in their life, or they may not have a lot of peace in their life right now. So us being centered before we get on a call with these folks makes a big difference. So, oops, you're muted, Grace.
Such a great point, Nikki. And a few strategies and techniques for you to be able to center yourself is sometimes we've got a lot happening, or externally we've got a lot of distractions. And so one way is to physically stand up and center your hands, bring your hands close together. And what that can do is that can bring you back to center. So you can say, okay, let me focus here. Let me get in my zone. Let me pull myself together. And so you physically doing that will support you to mentally do that. So that when you're calling or you're reaching out to people, you are connecting with an elevated energy. It's the whole concept. I was teaching this earlier today. Do they smile when you walk in, or do they smile when we walk out? Do they smile when they see our name on the phone, on the caller ID, or do they smile when they hit the decline button? So being able to create this environment when you're picking up the phone to bring and share some good news, to bring out the best in others. And the easiest way to bring out the best in others is to bring out the best in yourself. So every one of these questions that we provided for you in your handout, every single one of those, we encourage you to start with you. Start asking those questions of you. Like, what are some of the gifts under the circumstances? What have I learned? What adjustments am I making or I've made? Who am I? Well, these are questions that I like to ask myself daily. One is what am I going to learn? And the other is who am I going to share that good news with? So what am I going to learn? When you are hungry for new knowledge, when you're interested in being the best version of you possible, you're going to look for ways to learn, and learning things that will serve you and those you care about, so that today's version of you is not yesterday's version of you. You are an optimized, improved version because you've been intentional about your learning. So those are a few thoughts around questions. So it's not just questions we're asking others, it's also questions that we're asking ourselves. Now, if somebody says to you, I'm so angry about the current situation, if they make that statement, we are going to use listening phrases. So example, when somebody says something like, I'm angry about the current situation, what is most upsetting? So I may use most upsetting, that's a rephrase, or I may say, what is causing the most anger? Notice the framing of the question. The framing of the question doesn't use the word you. It doesn't say, well, what are you most angry about? What can happen when we use the word you is we can create what we call this barrier, or it's me against you, honey. It's us. We're in adversarial positions. Versus when you simply drop the you and say, what is causing the most anger? Or what is most upsetting right now? And we didn't use the word you, they are less likely to be offended or be defensive. So that is something to be mindful of, is to drop the you in your questions and to use that listening phrase of, okay, I hear you. And notice the word, I hear you. What can anger people that are already upset or frustrated is for us to use the words, I understand. I understand. Because what is going on internally with the person that you're coaching or leading or working with is they feel like no one could possibly understand what they're going through right now. And again, what it does is it awakens frustration versus creates connection. So I hear you. How could I support you best right now with where you're at? How can I be there for you? And they may say, well, what do you mean? How can you be there for me? Well, is it that you'd like me to coach you, to be a listening ear, to provide some advice, or to brainstorm? Who can I be in this moment? That, my friends, is heart-centered listening. We're not guessing what they're looking for. We have clarity of what will serve them best. So those are a few thoughts. We want to hear from you. What are you getting so far out of what we're talking about right now? What is resonating? What questions do you have? So go ahead and type in the box.
It says, we were blessed with 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth. Due to circumstances, we need to use our ears much more now and our mouth even less. So listening has become even more important due to the circumstances. Very true, Lil. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
In coaching training. Thank you, Alicia. Love the removal of you in the question to diffuse things. There's so many things that we can do to de-escalate situations. And this is, by the way, all these things we're teaching are with your family too. This isn't just in your business, because right now some husbands and wives are ready to kill each other, and kids are going to battle, and lots of other things going on. Use the same things with them. If they're two kids are shouting at each other, what's happening? What are you feeling right now? And you stay calm. It'll make a big difference. Taking the you out of the question was another one. Yes, I love rephrasing. That is causing what is causing the most frustration? Very different. The you makes them feel it's like almost like an attack, and they don't mean it to be.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the comments.
Yes, thank you. And Brittany also said, Brittany Mitchell said, so helpful to be reminded, don't guess what they are looking for. Yes.
And Brittany's been to many schools, but there's always time to learn still. I love it that you're a consummate learner, Brittany. Here's another one. People show up very clearly that they can't hide who they are and what they think when you ask those kinds of questions. Very true. Good tips on how to ask questions and respond. How to de-escalate strong emotions in the conversation without defense. With offense, she says. That was good. What tips can I use for myself when I'm overwhelmed with situations? Thank you for that one. I'd like to address that, Julie, I think. Here's the thing. This is another piece that we teach in the coach school. It is how to use self-coaching. I've been self-coaching my entire life, and Grace has too, I guess, because I learned it from my mother and we passed it down to another multiple generations. So here's the thing. When you feel yourself going like you're going to just stress out, you may want to just take a minute. How would I prefer to feel right now? You know, instead of saying I'm overwhelmed, you can say, what opportunities are available to me right now? What is my priority right now? All those things, when you ask yourself an empowering question, you get an empowering answer. So thank you for that one. That was good. Here's a couple of others that are in here. Following the thread of the words to compose your next question. By the way, it is not a race. You do not have to be the first person to flip out a question. Take time, pause. That's called that little bridge is the precious pause where there's silence. Silence is golden in coaching. They won't die. You think it seems like 10 minutes, it's 10 seconds. What tips? No. Can you repeat? Rather than I understand. I can't get that one open, Grace. Can you look at that one for me? It was from Renee. And following the thread. Let's see, I hear you instead of I understand. Thank you. My response is challenged by their true personality. My response is challenged by their true personality. So what I'm taking from that, Allison, is that sometimes what that means is they maybe are a different behavioral style than you are. They're maybe very pointed or a little rough around the edges or something. Just take a breath and separate the behavior from the person. Just separate it. They're two different things. This is a person. Talk to the person. And the behavior can go out the back door. Because if you stay calm, you stay in a place of centeredness, it will support them in being that same way. So we've got to lead by example, folks. That's really important. Here's another one. How would you respond if someone says there is nothing you can do? You know, this is what I'd say. And Grace, you maybe have something different. If somebody says there's nothing you could do, you know, I understand that I can't do anything, that it's really up to you. If I can support you to find out what you can do, how would that fit into your personal growth, or how would that work for you? Whatever you want to ask. We're not here to fix them, folks. Remember, in coaching, people are whole and complete as they are. They are not broken, and we're not here to fix them. So they're whole and complete. That's part of this. Grace, did you have something else that you might respond to that one?
Sure. The question again was, how would you respond if someone says there is nothing you can do? And so sometimes what happens is sometimes people are making those statements because they feel there's this feeling of out of control. And so whenever that is happening or people are bringing up that type of statement, there's nothing that you can do about it. So, or there's nothing you can't do anything to help me right now. One thing that I like to ask is we call it possibility thinking. And Roy Disney was so wise. At one stage, he said, become a possibilitarian. And that, I think, is really important when people feel this sense of they're out of control or they don't have a say. And so one question that I like to ask is, what is within your sphere of influence? What do you have a say in right now? What could be done? So it's not about what I'm doing or what they're doing. It's what could be done. What are some of the options or possibilities available to you? And if they say, I don't know, it's just nothing is working, everything is going wrong. Okay. So if we pondered for a moment, how could this be resolved? Who in your life do you have a great deal of respect for? It's almost like they are someone that you go to for mentorship. Who is that person? And if they say, well, that was my sister or that was my husband and they're no longer around, well, what would they have said to you? What would have been their advice? See, so my friends, what we're sharing with you is that there is always an option. It's finding another angle. It's what is that? There's this movie that my children were watching, and it's so cute. It is about a marshmallow man. Anyone know what the name of this movie is? It's so cute. My kids love it. It's like something Team 6 or something.
Big Hero.
Big Hero 6 or something like that. Yeah. And
Thank you.
yeah. And what the big brother was saying is that it may be an opportunity to go at it from another angle or another alternative. So whenever somebody says, I don't know, or that just can't, Big Hero. That's right, Renee. You're so wise. Whenever they are sharing with me that they don't know, to me, that's like an exciting statement because I trust that they do. I've known you long enough. I trust that you do have the answer. I'm curious what it could be. What are some options? Or may we brainstorm? So it's not about what you can do or what you can't do. It is about taking them from woe is me to elevating their thinking. And that happens when we're asking questions, we're interested, we're open, and we're listening. And my friends, what's really important when we're coaching is that we're centered, that we're not taking what they're saying personally. It's not an attack or it's not against us. This is an opportunity, especially now more than ever before, for us to operate with resilience and to not make a comment about us, because often it isn't. When they say something to us, and I want you to do this right now while you're on the line, you got 2 fingers pointing out and you got 6 pointing back at you. So sometimes when people are saying things, and they may be in some instances hurtful temporarily, momentarily, remember, this is not about me. This is about the current circumstance. This is about their current situation. What is my role and responsibility? What do I own based on what's being shared? And what's not my responsibility? What are some of the things that I don't own? So
Grace,
those
I've
are
got
a few
a couple
thoughts.
more questions here I want to throw out that people have brought forth. Somebody said, when we sense that for some reason people are taking things personally, how can we skillfully redirect? So if the person you're talking to the thing is, when you're coaching someone, it really is about them, but you don't want to make negative comments about them. So if Gracie, maybe you take that one. When we sense that for some reason people are taking things personally, how can we skillfully redirect? You can't stay in the, if they're feeling judged, that's when they would take it personally, is if the question was said in a judgmental manner. Well, what are you going to do about that? How come you haven't got any new parties on your books? That is personal. So, and I know the person that wrote this in well, and I know you would never do that. Some people, have a challenge in that area. Grace, do you want to add anything to that thought?
So, there's a few thoughts. Of course, when somebody may be offended by something we've said or done inadvertently, we have an opportunity to ask for forgiveness. Even if we don't feel like we are responsible, if someone was offended by a statement that we made, to simply ask, that didn't come out the way I had intended. I apologize. Would you please forgive me? Because see, every person filters through their own system. So it may have come across in a loving manner. So the way it was shared from our head and our heart, it left to serve. And then when it was received in their head and their heart, there was a disconnect. There was a misinterpretation of our intention. And so being able to simply ask, please forgive me, that wasn't my intention, that is a wonderful way to create synergy versus discontent. Another is let's say I don't have the opportunity, and I have a baby. I have several children. Those of you who know me, we have 8 children. 8 is great. 9 is not divine. And my 3-year-old has realized that when the office door is closed, she has an opportunity to go through the window.
Yes, I'll let you take care of it. I'm going to answer these next 2 questions.
Well, I want to finish that thought though. I was going somewhere. Where was I? So asking for forgiveness is one. The other is to forgive ourselves. Like, forgive me for I didn't know. Forgive me, I could have handled that in another way. So that, I think, is super important, is to, again, ask for forgiveness. And then where could we go from here? Or even saying, may I rephrase that? May I ask that in another way? And oftentimes people, it's almost like they'll respect that, because sometimes what happens is people are offended, again, through their own filters, or they could be comparing themselves to you. And by just simply saying, may I rephrase that, or may I ask that in another way? What we're saying is that we're not always perfect, or we're not perfect. And it gives people permission to say, oh, I could ask to rephrase it, or I could have a do-over. It may not always come across smoothly, and that's okay. So you're modeling that. Please go ahead, Nikki.
Okay, I'm going to go to it. This question came from Lisa. Is this approach the same for a man or a woman? So what I want to tell you about it being a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. Coaching is coaching, whether it is a man or a woman. It's more about the behavioral style of the person. If they're a very direct, decisive doer, if you were on the understanding behavioral style classes that we just finished, you'll know that you can't talk to a dominant person, which is outgoing, task-oriented person. You cannot talk to them in a manner of, oh, well, how are you feeling today, honey? They want straight to the cut to the chase. That's how they want you to talk to them. So it's different with behavioral style. Now, this is another piece of this, is it the same for men and women? Sometimes, ladies, trying to coach your husbands is a little more challenging. And same thing with husbands coaching their wives. Don't tell them you're coaching them. That's the first thing. You need some coaching, honey. No, we're not doing that. So you're gonna first talk to them and make sure that they are, that you just ask a question. from curiosity, and that will work better. And then Grace, I'm going to unmute you, and then I'd like you to address this other question. How can you reach someone when they feel that they are always right?
Ooh, okay. So how can you reach someone that feels they're always right? Uh, well, sometimes, you know, who are we to say they're right or they're wrong? And so one thought is that, and I sometimes what I'll do is I'll reflect within myself. What is the truth? What is a perception? Um, what could be accurate about what they're sharing, and what could be accurate around what I'm sharing? Is this an opportunity to agree to disagree? Another way is how can we get on the same page? Another is what is their logic behind behind the statement? What is their logic behind the statement? And sometimes I'll ask, what is their emotion behind the statement? So what is causing the firmness to this? So those are a few thoughts around if they feel that they're always right. And sometimes that's sometimes it's there are people that in their past they had to fight to prove, they had to fight to be right, or that was very important, that it became a part of their identity rather. And so it sounds like this is something that you're very passionate about, or it sounds like, so you can use those phrases. It sounds like this is something you're very passionate about. Oh my gosh, yes. Or how was that decision made? Or what information is supporting that decision? So it gives them an opportunity to reflect. Okay, am I right? Is it more important to be right, or is it more important to have a relationship? Which is the priority? Is it about being right, or is it about the relationship? So I like to ask people whenever there's this, it's almost like a line in the sand. It's, what are some of your negotiables? So things that it's like, really, am I really going to get my panties in a ruffle about this? What are some of your negotiables? And what are some of your non-negotiables? So what is your line in the sand? And being able to settle into that versus arguing a point that often will lead to a breaking point. Thoughts, comments on some of those ideas? Because anytime you ask a question, you're going to get layers
and from different directions. There was a comment about when there may be judging through their filters. First of all, as a coach, we do not judge. We can't even sound like, look like, feel like, smell like we're judging. That means poker face. That means we're not going, are you kidding me? You know, and making all those. Grace, do your eyebrow, would you? Grace has this eyebrow that, oh yeah. Don't want the eyebrow. Trust me, that's a sign of judgment in some cases, or total confusion. So they have their own stuff. People that have triggers. People have words that send them into, and you can see it in their face, or their blood pressure goes up, or their face turns red. Just stop using those triggers and just say, I am sensing that the word upset, or whatever the word is, pushed a button a little bit. Tell me about that. I want to know so I don't do it again. You know, and they'll tell you whatever that was. So here's a note from Beth. Beth, thank you so much for recognizing the 3 months free membership. We are honored to be able to do that for everybody right now, because money's tight for a lot of folks, and there's enough stress out there. Be part of an organization that cares about you, and you'll get our brand new app, which will be so exciting. Very helpful. Sometimes people need to be right as part of their identity because of the person they had to fight in the past. Very, very true. Here's an interesting conclusion. Can you lead me through that? Can you lead me through that? I'm not quite sure what that means.
Yes, if you could please expand upon that, Kim, then we will be able to respond to your question. I think I think one thing to be clear on is when we're asking our questions, we're in neutral. So we're not leading to get to a point that we're looking to get to. We're in this state of wonderment. We're in a state of exploration. It's almost like this conversation is an adventure versus I want to get to somewhere that I want them to go. And that's especially right now, people want to be walked with. They don't want to be dragged. They don't want to be convinced. They don't want to be forced. They want a say in something. And so when you can create that experience through your conversations, it's like, gosh, that was enjoyable. Or I'd like to be around that more. Or, that brought out the best in me. Or that conversation made me think. Maybe this is something that I could consider for me and my family as far as a business, or as far as a product, or as far as a service or a community. So these are some things that we wanted to be sure to share with you. We also prepared a few things for you. One is on page 2 of your handout. Again, we gave you a description of heart-centered listening. And then we also talked about what you can listen for. You can listen for mindset and you can listen for emotion. And we shared with you mindset words often are logical words. So people will say things like, I'd like to think about that. I'd like to ponder it. I want to process this information. What systems are in place for success in this business? So systematic, process, ponder, thinking, thought. I'd like to analyze. Yes, analyze the options. I'm conducting an analysis.
And the thing about that is those questions are going to help you, or their responses will help you to identify their behavioral style. And once you understand their behavioral style, everything else is much simpler. So there's lots of information on the DSWA site too, in the articles and recordings, the audio recordings, that you can go back to and listen to those again, because it's that to understand a person and their style will make your questions be more effective, because you know what resonates with them. So that's what it is. So how about listening for emotion, Grace?
Yes, so listening for emotion, and on your handout, we provided you with some keywords to listen for, and then also some questions to incorporate based on whether this is a mindset or emotion. So emotion, a person's going to use words like sensing, or I'm heartbroken, or I'm feeling, and they're going to use words like happy, excited, sad, glad, nervous, uncertain, frustrated, in touch. These are words that optimistic, alone. These are more emotional words. They're feeling words and expressions. And what happens is when you give people, it's called affect labeling. When you give people an opportunity to express their emotion, what you're doing is when they verbalize it, and they've communicated, it's almost like, how we have a teapot, and then we've got it and it's warming up, and then it's on boil, and then it hits and the steam runs out, and it's like real high pitched sound. Well, it's like we're taking the lid off of this person's teapot, and now they're able to, it's almost like they're free. They're no longer boiling under the surface because they've articulated some of how they're feeling right now. And so I may ask a person, if I'm speaking to someone that's more in the realm of logic, or that's a mindset, they have a mindset, a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. I may ask them a question around, what's on your mind right now? What are some of the thoughts that cross your mind, either now while we're speaking or before? Or what are some of the dominant thoughts? Are those life-giving thoughts or life-taking thoughts? Are they inspiration or are they weighing on you? Okay, then emotional. I'm going to ask, so what's on your heart right now? What what are you feeling? I mean, there's so much happening around us. And see, I'm not making an assumption. I'm in neutral. I'm not assuming the worst and I'm not assuming the best. I'm I'm interested in where they're at right now. Okay, so we gave you a few question examples that you can listen for and then incorporate either a mindset or an emotional based question. So, example, how can some of these learning experiences that you're going through, how could those support others? Like what are some of the hurdles you've walked around in these last couple of months that now is an opportunity for others to jump over because you've learned them. Another is who could be a mentor. Again, that's an emotional, especially when somebody says I feel alone or I feel isolated or there's no one here right now. Being able to ask a person, well, what who could be a mentor right now? Who could you connect with in alternatively? So like who could you connect with virtually? Yes, we're not able to congregate yet in person. Who could you connect with though virtually and have these conversations with? So it's not always it's you. It could be someone else. So you're giving them an opportunity and teaching the fishermen and women how to fish. Okay, Nikki, competence and confidence. These are a few additional points that we wanted to share with you. So I'm listening for the distinction between are they competent or competent? What's playing a role in where they're at right now? And so what I want to make sure that you jot down with this question, because it's not on your handout. This is a distinction question. And actually leaders that we've worked with closely, they appreciate and now apply this often. They filter their decisions of how they're going to work with their team based on how competent are they on this subject. So let's say it's virtual meetings or doing an online event when they're accustomed to meeting in person. What opportunity do we have right now? Is it a competence? Is it the competence that's holding them back? Or is it confidence that may be holding them back? What it does is it gives you as a leader an opportunity to discern, okay, is this an area that I have not trained on yet that I could train and impart knowledge around? Or is it confidence? Often that is a great time for you to be mindful of around coaching. The confidence is what's going on in well, both are kind of going on in here. Competence is what they know, the knowledge that they have about what they're looking to accomplish, and the confidence is how good they feel or how secure they are with these ideas and strategies. So I even ask yourself, is it that my team is not sharing the business right now at this time? Is it a competence opportunity or is it a confidence opportunity? Any questions or comments on that so far, Nikki, that you're seeing?
Well, I've got a couple we'll wrap up with at the end. But let's get on to page 3 because of time. It's agreed action and accountability. If you look at the top there, it kind of explains what it is, but it's basically them agreeing to what action they're going to take and being accountable for that. And remember that coaching without agreed action and accountability is just a conversation, no results, nothing happens. So some of the key words that you can work around are ideas, brainstorming, plan, options, accomplishment list instead of a to-do list. I always use an accomplishment list. What are your priorities? What's important to you right now, etc. So we've got some good questions there that you can read. What are some of the high priority activities for this week? What is within your sphere of influence? How can you activate these ideas? Those are all part of it. Then the structure for accountability, good questions there are, who could support you. For some reason right now, the women that are staying home and they're doing all the cooking, the cleaning, everything that they always did before while the husband worked and trying to run her business and do homeschooling and so on. So there's some challenges with that. So I'm just saying to everybody, it's okay to say that you need some assistance. You don't need it. Go to Grace's house and follow that roadmap. Everybody has chores of what they're supposed to be doing, and trust me, they're doing it. So all things, as things progress, how can you keep me informed? In other words, how can I celebrate with you? How can I support you as you go along? And this is the last one on there. What will increase the probability of success? Those are some great questions for us. And we've got a few other questions that came in, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stay on the line. I don't know if Grace can, but I will stay on the line for people that have other specific things that we didn't get to. And you can speak when that happens. That'll be good. I do have one that I just came in a minute ago that I wanted to try to. How do we use these questions to coach ourselves? Use those questions to coach yourself is called self-coaching. Ask the same way: who, what, when, where, how questions. Ask questions like that. And so, what can I do to make my day better today? How can I enjoy this moment? What can I do to slow down and just be and be present with my family? How can I make more time for my children today? What could I do for my husband today to let him know that he's special? I mean, there's thousands of these. And then answer the questions. That's a really important part. I do want to let you know, and we're going to come back to our little wrap up here in a minute. That we're going to ask you for your insights, things that you'd like to chat into the box. I also want to let you know that in this crisis, a lot of people have had, different approaches. Some people had their best months ever. Some people have had just nothing and they're paralyzed. So we've got to stay as leaders in that place of support for other people. So have care calls, call people and connect with them. Don't wait for them to call you. Don't call and say, well, have you any orders to place? Or, did you do something this week? Have you done anything? That's not what we're calling for. We're checking in with them and being of service and support to them. The other piece of that is, because all this has been going on we have a level 1 Coach Excellence School that is taking place. It's under dswa.org/events on the website. You can find it and go to that class. It's starting soon, May the 19th. It's discounted. We put it into 6 payments. We did everything we could to support people. So go check on that when you get a chance. And also go to dswa.org/members, because that's where you get your free membership for 3 months. And that will put you in on our new app. So everything that is for the distributors has moved to the app, and you'll get that, and that's included also. So let's hit some of these questions real quick. What is the 3-month offer? It's 3 months of access to DSWA. That's audios, that's videos, that's Aloha Friday. Every Friday we're doing a training that it comes into your inbox in your app. As you saw, those videos are really good. There's a lot of bonuses and discounts and articles and audio recordings and things you can download and use. There's a lot.
Nikki,
so
it was dswa.org/members or membership. Membership. Okay, I'm going to type it into the chat.
Okay, thank you. Then also we had someone asked, this was a good question, is it a skill or a will opportunity? Boy, that's really a good point to understand. Is it that they're willing to? So a great question is, how committed are you to making that happen? If they're really not committed, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you? If they're not committed, it's not going to happen. Let's see, there was another one here. Somebody had to go, I'm sorry, but we miss you. Is anything else on there? There was one, is there a possible response to a know-it-all? Do we have something that is a response to a know-it-all that we did not cover? Well, I'm just going to give you an example. It's not going to be under the crisis thing, but I had a woman that paid $5,000 to go to to do a trade show, and she came in and said, I'm going to go to this trade show. I think that's the way to build the business, and I'm excited about it. So I I signed up for this trade show. And so if you don't ask any questions, they do think they're right. They still might think they're right after you ask questions. But I asked her, and so how much did you pay for your booth? And she said, well, $5,000. Don't look, $5,000. Don't do that. Just stay calm and say, and what are they saying is the anticipated number of people that will be coming? Oh, I don't know. So how would that benefit you if you did know that? Oh, it probably would tell me how much supplies to make and so on. And then, let's see, she also might find out they have 100 people coming and she paid $5,000. She might figure that out. How do you plan to man that booth? What kind of return investment are you looking for? You ask the questions till she decides if she's going to do it or not. As she does it, you gave her the opportunity to back out. That's all you can do with that. You can't make people wrong. That's one thing. Online coach school, yep, /events. So we've got information on there. Anything else that anybody would either like to verbally ask, and I don't know, Grace, are you able to stay? Because I can.
I'm going to stay briefly.
Okay.
I have a previously an additional scheduled event after this. So any other questions that you have or additional clarity that we can provide for you, this is your opportunity. So questions or comments, things that really resonated with you that you're saying, oh my goodness, I'm going to activate this. I am going to apply this now. Because what we've talked about, how to make use and to really make this investment that you just made of time, energy, and effort, how to create opportunities with that is to actually do something with it. To say, okay, out of every idea that came to the forefront, what is one thing that I'm going to implement ASAP right away tonight? What is one thing that I'm going to use and work with? Rather than, sometimes what happens is when there is a lot of insight and new information available to us, sometimes it's challenging to compartmentalize. We want to say, let's do everything, let's do it all. And that can set us up for some failure, some challenge, versus what would be one area that I could start in? What would be one thing that is most useful right now? So, Nikki, I see that we have some comments here. What we got cooking in the kitchen?
Okay, one thing I'll put into place immediately. Don't wonder what's happening with people. Make sure you ask. Make that care call. Excellent. I'm going to start by coaching myself and asking myself those better questions. Excellent. The important questions that I have is to think of before I pick up the phone. That is, think about a starting place before you pick up that phone. You can't ever plan a coaching conversation because you don't know what they're going to say. But once you get that, it's better. I have often worried what is wrong with me. I've often used you statements. Interesting. By the way, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm not going to say that. Start the conversation on a personal level. Yes, connect on a personal level. Getting to know that person, that's really important. Thank you so much for the webinar, for the time. I'm excited to implement the flow of the conversations in preparing the question and sharing in advance. That's so good. Anybody else? The important question is to think before I speak. That's for everybody. One thing I'll put into place. Am I missing anything, Grace?
I love that Renee said, activating and using, is it more important to be right or more important to be in a relationship? And then Michelle said, I'm going to remember that I don't have to fix people. Yeah, I mean, that's what coaching is about. That's what we stand for as coaches. We hold people whole and complete. It's not about fixing them. It's about creating an experience, an environment, and a dialogue and interaction that transports valued people from where they are to where they prefer to be. That's it. That's it. That's the essence of coaching. And so right now, under the current circumstances, there may be people that they're having a challenge seeing the forest through the trees. And so through conversation, through possibility thinking, through strategizing and brainstorming, looking for what are my options versus this is what's happened to me, transitioning from victim to victor. I mean, this is where we have people flourishing and thriving through these circumstances versus surviving and holding on for dear life. That's why we came on this call today with you. That's why we're sharing with you about being able to participate in our online coach school and this complimentary app and these things, because we care about people and we want the best for people. And we know that this is a leadership best practice. This is what differentiates mediocre from excellence. And so that's why we came here to be with you today. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity and the privilege, because every time Nikki and I come on to these calls and we have people that are there, we see it as a privilege to speak into your life, to make an emotional and physical deposit into your life. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, thanks. And one last thing that somebody said here, and I thought it was really very good. They said, I like the idea of thinking of being of service to others than to myself. See, when you put other people first, you're just blessed abundantly. That's how life is supposed to be, about others. So thank you. Does anybody have something you want to say? You're unmuted, or you got to unmute yourself, but you can say whatever you'd like for the last few seconds. And then Grace will stop the recording.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. This means a difference for all of your team and everybody that you come in contact with.
Mahalo.
All right. Thank you for giving us the best. Oh, even life happens.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. You take care, everyone. Have a blessed day.